Hello everybody, Michael the Librarian of Magic here, finding and cataloging the magical and pointing you to it. Today is October the 3rd. I'm continuing right along with my Villain Drawing a Day series for the month of October, third year in a row. Go back and see the other videos if you haven't caught up with these for October the 1st and the 2nd, and also my previous 2 years of these if you're unfamiliar with the project. But I'm going to keep barreling along. I've got plenty more planned for the month, so I'm going to get right into today's villain. And we're going to learn today about Lotso Huggin Bear from Pixar's Toy Story 3. This is a pretty simple drawing, but it was fun. Came out well, I think. Got the facial expression the way I want it, and the cane. He's kind of an insidious villain, and a very interesting one. He's a sort of magenta-colored, strawberry-scented bear, teddy bear, who was... They give him a backstory in the film. He was a lost toy, used to belong to a girl named Daisy, and she lost him on a family outing, and then he went on this arduous trip and worked his way back home, and when he got there, he found out that he had been replaced by another Lotso Huggin Bear, and so he became very angry and resentful at the way humans interact with toys, and he just kind of became evil about it. And so, yeah, he's sort of like... really just has a really bad attitude about humans and stuff. He ends up working his way towards this daycare center because he gets discovered again on the road by these humans. And anyway, all of these toys end up, when they get donated or thrown away, end up usually at this daycare center. And he kind of runs this daycare center like the warden of a prison. And when the new toys come in, he kind of sorts them out. There's the caterpillar room where the youngest kids play with the toys, and they're very rough with the toys. They pull them apart and draw on them and all kinds of other stuff. And that's where he kind of punishes some of the toys. And then some of the older kids play in the butterfly room, and that's where the toys get treated a lot better the way they want to. And he kind of controls, Lotso Huggin Bear controls who goes in the caterpillar room and who goes in the butterfly room, etc. So that's kind of how it fits in the plot if you haven't seen Toy Story 3. Originally, from what I read, he was supposed to be a villain, or at least a character featured in the first Toy Story movie, but the technology to animate the hair on the teddy bear was not really well developed at that point. The original Toy Story being the first ever fully computer animated film in 1995. They just didn't have the technology at that point to make all of the hair and every detail stand out on the bear, so they kind of file drawered this character until Toy Story 3 came around. The design for the character was created by a animator and designer named Daniel Arriaga. The character itself was voiced by the unfortunately late and great Ned Beatty. He passed away this last June here in 2021, but he had a really fun career, mostly as a lot of supporting roles, but very recognizable in a lot of stuff. He was in prominently, kind of came to probably his biggest role was in Deliverance with Burt Reynolds, which he has a great role in that. That movie is definitely not for kids or families, but it's a very good movie if you haven't seen it. It's about a group of guys that gets sort of lost and waylaid in like deep backwoods country, and they get into some trouble back there with some of the local people who don't take very kindly to outsiders. It's one of those kind of movies. He also had a great role in Network. I believe he was nominated for an Academy Award in the film Network, which is also a great movie if you haven't seen it. And a lot of other supporting roles. You see him pop up in all kinds of stuff. Superman, the movie, the Richard Donner movie, the original one. Rudy, he was the father character in the film Rudy with Sean Astin about the Notre Dame football player. He was in a live-action Disney film called Road to Avonlea. He played a character called Wally Higgins. If you haven't seen any of the Avonlea stuff from the 80s and 90s, that's kind of worthwhile. And then he was also in a movie called White Lightning. He played a character named J.C. Connors, which this Lotso Huggin Bear character is kind of based on because he's sort of a southern lawman, warden-ish character. And then, of course, there's also a lot of inspiration for this character, and also in some ways the plot of Toy Story 3. There's a lot of inspiration from the movie Cool Hand Luke from the 70s with Paul Newman. If you haven't seen Cool Hand Luke, it's totally worth a watch. It's a very good movie about a guy who ends up in a prison in the South. I want to say like Louisiana or something. And he ends up having these run-ins with this really tough-nosed warden, and he kind of becomes insubordinate and tries to take a moral stand because he feels like people aren't being treated well and stuff like that. And it's sort of about that. But it's a very good movie, a classic if you haven't seen it. And there's a lot of similarities. If you see some of those movies like Cool Hand Luke, you'll see where a lot of inspiration for stuff like this comes from, and you may find that very interesting if you're a big fan of this character or this particular movie. You may find the similarities very interesting, from where these inspirations come from. That's the kind of stuff that I find very interesting, which is why I make these videos in the first place. Some other cool little just random tidbits that I found. The character itself can be seen, I guess you could say, in cameo form in Up. There's you kind of can see an image of Lotso Huggin Bear like in a house at one point, and then in Cars 2 there's a billboard, like an advertisement that features Lotso Huggin Bear that you can kind of see in that movie, which you should be able to see here. So yeah, that's kind of some of the basic stuff that I figured out about this character. He's one of the more heartless evil villains, particularly in the Toy Story series, but maybe in Pixar in general as well. He is really pretty dark, and he's sort of just gone over the edge. There's not much redemptive about him. He has a chance to really be redeemed in the end of the movie because he's got his hand on this incinerator lever when all of the toys are about to go into this incinerator thing, and he has an ability to stop it, and the story kind of leads you to believe that he probably will, but spoiler alert, he doesn't. And yeah, he's just kind of particularly nasty. So, but it was cool to draw him, and I had fun researching some things about Ned Beatty. It's a bummer that we lost him, but we got a lot of great work to remember him by. And this is one of those roles too. I think a lot of Disney fans and Pixar fans will definitely remember this role as sort of one of the more prominent ones in Ned Beatty's catalog. I think a lot of people like this character and this movie. So that's Lotso Huggin Bear. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about it today, and my drawing, I hope, was fun to look at and did it a little bit of justice. So thanks for watching this. As always, thanks for following along. I'll be back tomorrow with another one of these, and until then, bye-bye. Have a great day.